Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the top 10 best centers in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM, and this list is going to include gambling-only cards. So there are a bunch of gambling-only centers on this list, but a couple of non-gambling bigs as well. I will say the big man spot is the one area that definitely could use the most work when it comes to non-gambling cards. So hopefully we do see like a really good rush big maybe next week or something like that. Before right now, this list is, for the most part, comprised of gambling only bigs. But yeah, before we hop into, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Help me push towards the 25,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, tons of consistent daily MyTEAM content. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. So we are going to start off with the number 10 spot, which is going to be where I'm going to put Wembanyama. I really like Victor Wembanyama as an overall card. Still, I think he does a lot of things well at the center spot. I am just lower on him than most people are when it comes to comparing him to the gambling only bigs, and that is because of the lack of speed mostly. Not really that though. It's also some lack of badges, shooting badges, Agent 3 blinders, limitless range, a lack of upgraded playmaking. He's just limited in terms of his completeness. Bronze brick wall is not ideal. No fast twitch or bulldozer at all, or masher. I think having that masher badge can hurt him in terms of size. I just think there are certain things that he is not as good at as most everybody else on this list. And while he is still an absolute giant, still can be a massive mismatch, and still does a ton of things really well at the center position. Still a very viable, very good big. When you compare him to all these top gambling only type bigs, for me, he's not quite there. Number 9 is going to be Joel Embiid, starting off the gambling only bigs early with this Opal Embiid. I'm not the highest on him. I don't love his release. I don't think he dribbles very well. He obviously is not a good shot creator. 6'2" ball handle is not great, but he's a very good defender, has great shooting badges and great finishing as well. High 3-ball, good speed, not insane speed, but pro dribble style is nice. Rest of his sigs aren't very good. His fade is good, but I don't love his release, even though it's not awful. The card is good. He does a lot of things very well at the center position. Still a top tier big. Just for me personally, I'm not as high on him as I am on some of the other bigs. It's just my personal opinion. Not sitting here saying he's a bad card at all. He's just not my personal favorite. Number 8 is going to be Nikola Jokic. Kind of same boat as Embiid. He's like an inch shorter than Embiid, but I will say I like his animations a little bit better. I think he's a little more versatile. Definitely more of a playmaker than Embiid is by far. Not quite as good defensively nor as a finisher, but still pretty good in both those areas. Very good shooter. Don't love his release either, but he's got good speed, pro dribble style. Sigs besides that aren't great. Basic fade. So actually movement wise, very similar to Embiid. He just has much better playmaking badges, which helps him out a lot in terms of his ability to time burst and all that type of stuff. Can definitely elevate the card. Overall, I'm a big fan. I really do believe Jokic is very good. I just think there are some better bigs. 6'11" isn't the tallest. There are some other really good bigs. There's a ton of great big men in my team, and I think both these guys are just a slight step behind some of the other gambling bigs. Tyson Chandler is number 7 for me. I understand on paper Tyson is not nearly as good as Jokic or Embiid. I don't care. I'm standing on this. He does not have a 3-ball the way that they do. He does not have the shooting badges that they do. He is a better playmaker than an Embiid, though. Ball handle, shoe, and a coach gets him to where he can time and burst. Add a couple of badges to him. Add catch and shoot, limitless, break starter, speed booster, and maybe one other badge to him, and you get a really complete big who is one of the best interior players in the game, has a great player build, absolutely incredibly elite and versatile defensively, can guard in the perimeter and the interior at a super high level. Great shooter with a really smooth release. He doesn't need a super high 3-ball to be an elite level shooter because of how good his release is. I think he's a really, really good card, and in all honesty, I'm very, very high on Tyson Chandler as an overall option. I think he does a ton of things well, and I would say, yeah, 100%, 95 overall. Tyson is, I think he's better than some of these Opal bigs, and I think he can compete with literally any big in my team at a high level on both ends of the court. Miles Turner is who I have at number 6. His biggest quote-unquote flaw, I guess, is that he's not quite as big as the guys in the top 5. He's only 6'11". He's a great shooter with a really good release, better shooter than multiple cards in the top 5, but he does not have the playmaking chops of most of those guys, nor quite the speed. As good of a card as he is, and he is very, very good, I still do believe there are some better options at the power forward and center spot than Miles Turner. A couple, anyway. I like him better at power forward, honestly, as a pick and popper, but as a center, I don't think he's quite as fast nor as versatile as a couple of the top 5 guys who I think will give you a little bit more total impact at the center spot. Number 5 is going to be Kristaps Porzingis, the last of the non-gambling bigs. KP is mainly valuable because of his size. 7'3", but also elite shooting, which is something that Wemby does not have. A badge completeness that Wemby cannot offer either, especially if you do upgrade badges, adding things like fast twitch, maybe a couple playmaking badges, clamps, that type of stuff. Upgrade a couple things to Hoff maybe as well, like Anchor Brick Wall will really help. But 80 speed, 95 three ball, elite level shooter is what separates him. Not to mention he is a very good standing dunker of his own. I really think he's very similar to Wemby in terms of his interior ability, but he gives you much more shooting and much more badge completeness and flexibility, especially when he is upgraded. I think he's a really, really dang good card, and he definitely cracks my top 5 for sure, but I can't go any higher than that because the top 4 gambling bigs, the center spot, are kind of head and shoulders above everybody else. Giannis is number 4 to me. I definitely think this is where I would put him personally. This top 4 is relatively direct for me in terms of the order. It wasn't hard to decide. Like, Giannis doesn't quite have the size of the top 3 player build wise, and also I don't love his release. It's honestly tied for my least favorite of the 3, or of the 4, I should say. He is an elite level playmaker. He puts the ball on the floor at a very high level. Incredibly versatile defender, super fast, great rebounder, great finisher, great everything. Amazing card, really good playmaker. Release on quick also is not awful. It's very smooth and easy to green. I just don't think it's elite. But he gets the job done at a super high level. I just think there are 3 true bigs who are a little bigger and a little better than him. Starting with Wilt at number 3. The reason Wilt is behind the top 2 guys is because, again, release is not quite as good, but 96 speed, incredibly dominant interior finisher, one of the best dunkers in the game, one of the best defenders in the game, absolutely massive player build with an 8-foot wingspan, Hoff speed booster, and blow by as well. Really does everything on the court at an incredibly high level besides shoot the ball incredibly well, but kind of like Giannis, his release is on very quick. It makes it pretty usable. It's kind of hitchy, but it's not a terrible release in my personal opinion, and I think the card is awesome. I really like him, and I really think he does a ton of things well, especially at center. He fits better at center to me than he does at power forward because of the release. Number 2 is going to be David Robinson. D-Rob is very similar, I feel like, to a guy like Wilt. Maybe not quite as dominant on the inside, but in my opinion, a much better shooter, better base shooting badges, much better base stats, and a better release. And that, to me, is the main difference maker that pushes him just slightly above Wilt. You could argue the other side of the argument, and I wouldn't disagree with you directly at all. I just personally prefer D-Rob because of his release, and because release is really important to me. So I think for other people that may not be the case. They might prefer Wilt, but for D-Rob, the release is the main thing that makes a slight difference, at least. Number 1 for me is Hakeem, though. I think he gives you the same interior ability as a Wilt while having the release combination like D-Rob. For me, at the center spot specifically, his defense and release combination is the best. Not to mention he is a great playmaker of his own. Just a great all-around card, honestly. Amazing defender. Shoots the ball at a super high level with a release that I honestly much prefer to last year's release. His release is on very quick, and I actually like this Vucevic base this year. I am really high on this card. I think he's very good. I think he does a ton of things well. He honestly even dribbles at a high level well, has a good drag back, all that type of stuff. Like, there is a lot to like about this card, and I mean a lot. And I think he's about as good as it gets, to be completely honest, right now at the center spot. I think he's probably the best. I did not include 100 overalls on this list. I will say if I had included them, Shaq and Kareem, realistically, both of them probably don't crack this. Like, Kareem's probably still number 1. Shaq, he's probably like 4 or 5. Like, I actually don't think Shaq is that great as a whole. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion, though. That is going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.